For cataracts to lead to blindness, you would have to neglect your cataracts for maybe 20 or 30 years, whereas over there, you see it go from 20/20 vision to light perception within a few months. And voodoo and witchcraft is real common, and so a lot of mindset is, oh, I'm cursed.
More and more as we put ourselves in situations where we could pray for people, where we could show the gospel, God comes closer, he gets excited, he wants to talk to us.
Just ask him just if he wants to. He wants to, but expect it. Expect that it's going to happen, and just people don't expect it anymore. And I don't know why, especially church leaders don't talk more about that, because it's like it's right there.
So sad. It was a boy that I asked him what was it like being blind, and he said I was at most fear when I was eating a meal. And I said, why? And he said that's because he thought that someday he was going to be poisoned. And they said, we have to get you out of here now. They said there are bandits on both sides of this highway, hijacking, kidnapping. He said they'll skin you alive because they're white, because you're white, and they'll kill you too because you're black.
Thanks so much for coming, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for
Thank
being
you guys.
here.
Thank you.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, for the people that don't know, let's talk a little bit about your background.
Sure.
What?
I would love
How
some
did-
introductions
yeah,
first.
let's just-
if we could do some introductions, because I'm still working on pronouncing your name. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. I am Meheza Makmabia. Yes, I'm the director of side.org in Togo.
Amazing.
Yes.
We're so happy you're here.
Thank
But
you.
we call her Meza.
Meza.
That's like the nickname.
Yes.
Lots of
Okay.
nicknames in Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then Lewis, tell us a little bit about yourself and with the organization.
Yeah, my name is Louis Swan, and I am from Tyler. But I spent, after college, 2 years and 10 months on Mercy Ships, and then spun off in 2012 to start Sight.org. And we're an eye program that travels throughout Togo, Africa, as a mobile clinic giving sight to blind people. And then we're also a ministry, and we follow up with the gospel.
Amazing.
Oh,
And are you guys only in Togo?
Currently only in Togo, but we have a lot of people that cross the border to get to us. And so we have a lot of people from Benin, the neighboring country, Burkina Faso from the north, which is currently in a bit of turmoil, and then a little bit from Ghana. But we have some people that travel.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
That's incredible. Now, we were just talking a few minutes ago before we rolled on the podcast. You know, you said that you went to Togo back in 2009. Is that what it was?
2010, I got to Togo, and then I was with the ship. I was in public relations, and then we went to South Africa, and then I spent a year in Sierra Leone, and then I went back to Togo, and that's when I started Sight.org in Togo.
Amazing. And now, what got you to go on that first trip over there?
I was I guess a bit of a searching Christian, and just kind of someone that wanted to go do something and something meaningful for a time. And I thought like, hey, 3 months or something like that. And that turned into 2 years and 10 months. But I would say that if I were to summarize in the quickest, that would be it.
So when you landed, the plan was 3 months. What made you switch and stay for 2? That 2 years is a heck of a jump.
I was offered a role in public relations, and it required a commitment.
Oh, okay.
And so that was a 2-year minimum commitment. And then at the time, it wasn't the right time to transition away whenever my 2 years was up. So I extended for another 10 months.
Wow. Now you say Sight.org, you guys give sight to blind people.
Correct.
What does that mean?
When you're in a rural part of Africa, you see cataracts just like you see here.
Right.
The difference is the malnutrition level is astronomical, comparatively speaking. And so if I am in a rural village, their diet primarily corn, yam, lots of starch, bread. And so as a result of that, cataracts develop a lot faster over there. And so here, for cataracts to lead to blindness, you would have to neglect your cataracts for maybe 20 or 30 years, whereas over there, you see it go from 20/20 vision to light perception within a few months. to where the only thing they would see is the flash of a flashlight in their eye. And as a mobile clinic, that means we go to areas where there's zero access to eye care. And so we go to places that people have never left their village. They make a very, very modest income. And so once they go blind, the idea of leaving the village for the first time as a blind person and coming up with hundreds of dollars to reach the city a day away and have the income to do so, it's just light years away for a lot of people. So if I go to a remote village, I expect to see about 10 blind people in a village of 200. And you have a large population in rural Africa. And so when we do a campaign, which is a 6-week rotation, but during surgery week, last week we did
230.
213?
Yes.
213 surgeries in 5 days?
Yes, in 5 days.
And so we have a really fast team too.
Wow.
Yeah. It used to take us 4 days to do 50 surgeries.
Yeah.
And so now we're really rocking. So to date, we are a little over 10,500 surgeries in this country.
Yeah.
Wow. And are you using primarily people in Togo, or are you bringing teams over, or what does
Primarily
that look like?
Togolese. Okay. My doctor is usually better than anybody I would bring. And so they're a lot more experienced in that type of surgery because the cataract's a lot denser.
Yeah.
And so it's a totally different procedure. So we're a lot more proficient in that using the locals. And then sometimes I'll have a doctor come to do like muscle surgeries or surgeries that are truly not available in West Africa. So we also do some cross training on that. And so we have doctors that come from the West that help with like cross-eyed children, for example, and we'll make that correction, which is not a procedure available. Thus, we get to train local doctors. And to date, we've trained 37 doctors.
Wow.
And so doctors, we're not big on the very beginning stages of training of like, okay, this is the eye and this is the anatomy of the eye. We're really kind of a little bit on past that. So if they've performed maybe 10, 15 surgeries live, we'll get them to 100. Wow. And that 100 is necessary for them to be proficient. So if a doctor only knows, I've only done 10 surgeries, he is a very novice doctor still at that point. And so we create a safe atmosphere so that they can get to 100, because 100 is the standard for a good doctor, or a doctor that could be let go of and go off on his own. Up until then, you need oversight.
Yeah.
And so we've done it with 37 doctors.
Wow. That's crazy. When we were talking, I don't know, a year ago, or I think we were talking in the cafe or something, and you were sharing just about cataract surgery and how fast people are getting at it, like how fast that procedure can be, especially in like India.
Mm-hmm.
What were those? It was just so interesting. What were some of those stats? Like, what's the fastest? I mean, under a minute to do some surgeries?
Well, it 5 minutes maybe, Dr. Adia.
5 minutes.
Yeah, our best
10
doctor
minutes,
maybe 5 minutes on a
Right.
And to juxtaposition, how long are the people suffering?
sometimes 20 years and more.
Yeah.
And voodoo and witchcraft is real common. And so a lot of mindset is, oh, I'm cursed, or something happened spiritually.
Yeah.
And so we've had some ladies or some people that actually the family were pressing them not even to pursue surgery because we were right there. But they're like, well, you're cursed. It's not going to help you.
Yeah.
And so they will come and we'd give them sight and surprise.
With that family dynamic, thinking like, hey, like you're cursed, is it like, hey, we're kicking you out of the house, or is there any kind of like, are you outcast at all because of that, or?
Maybe you'd be better at not really. I mean, it depends.
I didn't get his question very well.
Like if somebody, is blind and family or the community thinks that they're cursed, will they be outcast at all?
Not
No,
really.
it's still like the family unit strong.
Yes, but sometimes because you will become a burden to the family. So sometimes they will just forget about you because they think that you will never gain your sight again. So they will just forget about you. But if you are lucky, you are in a family that are lovely, they can take care of you till the time. Yeah.
Wow.
It goes very broad. And so I've seen families that do anything and everything. This is a little the tensest I ever saw in terms of like the other side of that coin. So sad. It was a boy that I asked him what was it like being blind, and he said I was at most fear when I was eating a meal. And I said, why? And he said that's because he thought that someday he was going to be poisoned.
Poison.
And that was his greatest fear was that there's somebody feeding him, which he's reliant and dependent. But that was his day to day. Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible.
Can't even imagine that.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. And so
Wow.
for me, like I've been in Africa, working in Africa 16 years. You see enough stories like that. It's just like I don't make as much as I could otherwise. I don't, like take care of my family to a level that I could otherwise. But if you see enough of that, it's just like no comforts could outdo seeing that kind of thing resolved.
Yeah. Yeah. And now there's a spiritual implication too, because these people, they're in witchcraft and stuff. And now you're proving to them that, no, you weren't cursed.
Yeah. It's a good platform to.
And then, what type of, have you seen people, because I'm sure you're sharing the gospel with them.
Yes.
So how has that been, that dynamic?
The neat thing is because we're giving sight to the blind, in 13 years, we have to go to chiefs to ask permission to share the gospel in their village. Mm-hmm. And so going into a village and just sharing the gospel and making your campaign or whatever, highly not within cultural boundaries. And so you need to go through that process. Since 2012, since we started 13 years, I don't think we've ever been denied by a single chief. Mm-hmm. And they're usually Voodoo or Islam for the most part. And so, but yes, after giving sight to the blind, we have a ministry team that after we show them the drops and the post-treatment of, taking care of their eye, we have a great local team. Our whole team's local, by the way. Whenever I go, I'm usually the only Western person there. Oh, wow. And, but my team, most of which came out of witchcraft themselves or Islam. And so they have that history and they're a great people to walk them through that.
Yeah. Wow, what's the primary religion?
Voodoo.
Voodoo.
Okay. Yeah. It's where voodoo actually started. And so the slaves that went to Haiti and Louisiana, that they would have come from Togo.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Togo and Benin.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you have a background in that as well? Or did you do?
No, I was born in a Christian family.
Okay.
Yes. Before I became a real, because it's not because you are born in the Christian family that you are a Christian.
Oh, that's right.
No, you have to become a Christian by confessing Jesus. So I was born a Christian. So I'm not coming from the voodoo background.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And where in Togo were you born?
I was born in the northern Togo, the north of Togo. Yes, I was born there, and I grew up in the south.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as far as like director, like that's I'm sure. How did that become? Like, how did you get tied to the organization? Maybe you guys could fill in that story.
Yeah, I met Lewis on Mercy Ship when Mercy Ship was in Togo in 2010.
Yep.
Yes, and I worked with him in the public relation.
Okay.
Yes, I was their interpreter, or how do you call it? Yes. So that's where I met him, and that's where everything starts.
She taught me my first French words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And so I don't know if you have these stats in front of you. What are some of the goals that you have achieved of now, and what are some of the goals that you're looking to achieve in the near future?
Sure. We want to reach every village, every region of the country. And that's they call it incidents, or like the new cataracts would be anything that happened within a year. We like to tackle everything that has happened up until this past year. And so once you deal with the backlog, and that may be that we ask the government what that is, and it's a very hard number to pin. Maybe it's 20,000, maybe it's 30,000. We've done 10,000, a little over 10,000. So where that exactly stands depends. And then after that, as like I said, we train doctors and we just try to work on bringing that local infrastructure. Then they can deal with the new cases is our hope. And so Benin is next door, and everyone that I talked to that is familiar says that Benin is actually even a worse scenario, and that they're lacking even more than Togo, where we're working. And so once our incidences or our backlog is taken care of in Togo, which may be another 10,000, maybe, and we're getting there a lot faster, by the way. Like this last year was our record year. We did 1,658 this year, surgeries. And so those 10,000 weren't spread evenly over the past 13 years. We're ramping up the more we grow. And so once that backlog is dealt with, then really want to put our eyes on Benin. And also there's a hospital in the north, say in Burkina Faso is the country north of us, lots of Al-Qaeda type, Boko Haram type going around there, lots of displacement. I keep hearing like 1 million Christians displaced or 1 million people displaced or whatever. And so a neat thing is there's a hospital just south of the border where the patients come to them. And so it's like, imagine serving Somalia or a country that's a little sketchy, that you don't actually have to go in to serve the people. They're actually come across the border to come to you. Yeah. And so they have to go through checkpoints. They have to go through a lot of military checks before they enter, into your hospital. And so we're looking at partnering with them as well. And so that once people come from, the map is that we have on that's pretty broad. Yeah. They have a lot of patients come from Niger, Burkina, northern Benin, northern Ghana, and they don't have an eye program. And so they're coming to there, and then they have a great ministry team because we focus on the south currently more so, and that's more of voodoo. Up in the north is more of Islam, and they're better suited to minister to that population. And so that's our kind of a two-prong. Get further into Benin once the backlog is taken care of, and then focus on the north. And that would probably be an ongoing, because their reach is just so vast that you'll never run out of patients, unfortunately.
Wow. And are you seeing, any type of new technologies entering the market that are helping you in any way to streamline process? I know right now it's super fast. The surgeries are fast, but...
Well, it's a very manual surgery, and so the cataract's very dense, and so you have to do, it's called manual small incision cataract surgery, and so you have to make this incision, and maybe there'll be technology someday, but the procedure itself is so cost effective and so efficient that it's really, the technology would be in perfecting that. And so like there's a simulator, for example, from an organization called Help Me See. Mesa and I with a small team went to Madagascar, checked out the simulator, and that it helps doctors become more proficient. And so that would be the technology, is making the doctors more proficient and without putting a patient at risk.
Gotcha. Yeah. And are you guys thinking about getting a simulator at some point?
They're kind of expensive.
But I could imagine. Yeah.
They don't, you can't buy one. It's a partnership thing. There is, I can't name the names, but there is an organization that is looking at one of those, but where they struggle is what we call stage 2 training, getting them to the 100. Yeah. So they're thinking, hey, we want to focus on the simulation. We want to get the doctors to their first 15 surgeries, but then they're kind of stuck because they want to train a lot. Well, as a mobile clinic, we just go wherever the patients are. So we don't have this issue of not having enough patients to work with. And by the way, that once they're at that stage, we have a great outcome. It's the doctors. We don't deal with patient number 1, but we do have a really good outcome with our students, because our Dr. Avia, he's trained so many that he knows right when to step in and knows people's limits. He's a super humble doctor. Wow. And so that's a partnership that we're looking at, but I can't name names yet.
No worries. Yeah. No worries. You mentioned earlier sketchy situations. Have you found yourself, because normally people are coming to you, but have you been in positions where you've had to gone out and been in such sketchy situations?
Not in Togo, but I had been in a situation in Burkina Faso where I was threatened to be skinned alive. And my friends were.
Let's talk about that.
So if that qualifies,
I think that's top tier scary.
And we believed him. I was with a guy that was a child soldier in Sierra Leone. He was a friend of mine, and he was on the good side, he was a child soldier, and it was so intense that we didn't talk about it for like 3 months.
Wow.
Like it was just like, one of
So-
those things that you couldn't even talk about.
Yeah. So I mean,
So what happened?
yeah, what happened?
So we were driving south on this highway, and there was this area we didn't know that we were in a dangerous area. And I've seen a lot of military in Africa, but they usually look like they're kind of just standby. They're not in active war or anything. And these guys roll up, and our vehicle's broken down. These guys roll up, and we're like, whoa, like they're like ready to go. Like, where are we? And they said, we have to get you out of here now. They said there are bandits on both sides of this highway, hijacking, kidnapping. And we asked them, was like, well, if you know where they are, why don't you go get them? And they said, because they outgun us. So the Burkina Faso army doesn't actually want to go in because they're actually outgunned, is what they described.
Wow.
So we were towed. It was kind of comical. We had this chain that would snap every time they shifted gears. And so every time they shifted gears, it would just go pop, and see the chain just like slash in front of us. And the chain got shorter and shorter and shorter. If it popped one more time, I was going to have to abandon my vehicle and hand it over to the bandits or whatever. So we get through, and finally I was not stranded, or at least my vehicle, and we get to the city, this town. And as we're there, we're having our vehicle maintained. Well, one thing that we realized was, hey, these bandits, they don't just live in the bush. They still kind of intermingle with the city nearby. And this guy that was working on my car said, oh, by the way, like I know these guys, I know the bandits, and I could describe your car. And he looked around and just started pointing out specifics. And, the rack, I'll tell him the rack looks like this, and this looks like this, and telling us about the network, and said, and they can get you anywhere. And he said, and so it's, and all I have to do is call them, and da-da-da-da. And then he said, so it's going to be $500 for your car. And we believed him. Like, well, that was a serious threat in our opinions. Like, this guy was so sketchy. It's like, of course you're going to be friends with these guys. He was a low level individual. So anyway, in this part of the world, the last thing I was going to do was give him the $500 because then it's just like, hey, they're rich. Go get them. Go even more so. So this is a cool God story though, in the end. So I found a tow strap. My vehicle at this point was blowing white smoke about 30 yards. So we would drive down the highway, and all you'd see this line of smoke. We couldn't be more obvious. Yeah, we were getting pulled over like right and left because the police were like, hey, is this drivable? It was terrible. Yeah. So we were going, and we were trying to find this highway. I drove probably 80 miles going back and forth trying to find this highway.
Oh, man.
And it was getting dark. And we know this country's really bad about these bandits. And so we then finally stop, and we're like, gosh, like we've stretched like 80 miles trying to find this highway to cut them off, and we couldn't find it. And it was getting dark. And so we just saw this nice looking Muslim man walking across the street. And we're like, let's just ask that guy if we can have a safe place to stay. And we went up to him. Mind you, we've driven so far that day, past thousands of people on this highway. So we go up to the guy and said, hey, sir, like we're travelers. Do you have a safe place where we can stay? And he said, yeah, of course. He said, and by the way, I'm the uncle of the lady who helped this morning. And we're like, really? That morning, 12 hours earlier-ish, there was a lady in front of me in a motorcycle, and she barely moved the motorcycle like 5 miles per hour, had a baby behind her.
Wow.
Motorcycle tipped over, she tipped over, baby hit the ground kind of hard, scratched, not probably a big deal, but it happened right in front of us. So I told the lady and the child, hey, get in, we'll take you to the hospital. And I took them to the hospital and gave them way more money than they needed to get it fixed. And that was that moment.
Wow.
10 hours later, or what have you, we're in this desperate place, past thousands of people on this long stretch of highway. I mean, imagine from here to Dallas,
right? Yeah.
From Tyler to Dallas. It was like that long of a stretch that we were going back and forth trying to find this highway to cut off the bandits, and maybe they won't know we took that highway type of thing. And then the one guy I stopped by in this stretch of thousands was the uncle. So
That's
we knew we were taking
incredible.
care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when did you get threatened?
That guy,
Okay.
he told us, he said they're gonna, like, if once they catch you, he said they'll skin you alive because they're white, because you're white, and it'll kill you too because you're black, or because you're with them.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Turn your head some, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So so you stayed. You got a safe place to stay that night.
Yeah.
And then you ended up finding the highway. I guess the next
We
day.
just no, there was actually an error in the Lonely Planet book. We asked the police, and they said that highway did not exist, and so Lonely Planet almost got me killed, or I'm presuming so. And so we just continued
on record, Lonely Planet. Oh,
yeah, or maybe I don't know if that's going to be a lawsuit for you.
Oh man.
It's not my podcast. Hopefully, I don't send the lawyers.
Very good.
But it was wrong. Let's just state that.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's terrifying.
Really, yeah. And so, yeah, that was. I mean, you asked, but other than that, Togo's safe.
Yeah.
I like working in a country that there's a lot of need, but the government is doing their job, and for the most part, and keeping things orderly, and that's a good thing.
Amazing.
Now you guys got some really exciting stuff coming up with this helicopter.
True.
I know that you've been training. You finally have your helicopter pilot's license.
Correct.
And you're building a small aircraft
Correct.
to get into these more remote areas.
Correct.
I haven't told Shaddai much about that, but
That sounds so scary, by the way.
it's pretty incredible.
Because I've been tempted. I took not a helicopter, just a VFR.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I was
you're
like,
a pilot then.
I'm not a pilot. I didn't
Okay.
finish.
Okay.
I got scared halfway
Oh, okay.
through. I was
Yeah,
like-
it's intimidating.
I was like, what if I forget? I forget things often. I forget my keys. I'm like, well, what if I
Forget
forget
procedures
the
and-
procedures or something like that?
Yeah.
And then it was just like, I got kids. I don't
sure.
know. Yeah. So it was one of those things. But so you're building a helicopter,
Correct.
ribbit by ribbit, piece by piece, or
Yes.
yeah.
It's in the factory where they build these, and so they can. It's called a build assist program where I have a guy that's built dozens of them. Look over my shoulder, show me everything to do, and the concept is once I'm in Africa, if anything needs to be inspected after if you spent dozens of hours on one little part of the helicopter, then you're at a point where you could pretty well assess, fix it, or know when you need to make a call and fly somebody to Togo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, that makes 100% sense.
Yeah.
I thought it was like you're building it in your garage.
No, I highly advise against that.
Yeah.
Unless you're an extraordinary. Usually, people that do that have already built planes, like several of them. Like a helicopter is not your first stop, for the most part. But there were times when I would make an error that I could potentially continue thinking that it's okay. And let's just say if you see a helicopter that has 1 hour of flight time and they're trying to sell it, it's because they built a piece of junk.
Yeah.
And they're trying to unload something that's not airworthy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good
And so
to
you
know.
gotta really it's very complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is this a one or two person?
It's single seater.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so single seater.
And tell us a little bit just about like what is the goal for that? I
Sure.
mean, that's a huge endeavor.
There is an audio speaker underneath it that can be heard from half a mile.
Okay.
And so I like to say it's actually a speaker with a helicopter attached, not a helicopter with a speaker attached, because the speaker's that big.
Yeah.
It's typically for like a Bell, or like it's like for a 8 or 9,000 pound helicopter, not a 800-pound helicopter. But so this speaker system, when we go into rural areas, there are always villages that just have no clue that we're within walking distance, and it's and it's really sad. There's if you go into a main town and say we're doing the surgeries in that hospital, if you put a 10-mile perimeter around that hospital, there may be 100 villages of varying sizes. No electricity, no internet, only trails going, through. It's just a maze of trails. You can't walk to them all. The trails split a dozen times before you reach your first village, and you'll spend months just doing that.
Yeah.
And so the concept is that we'll have a pre-recording in their dialect announcing that if you're blind, go to such and such hospital all next week, and we're doing surgery. And I'll make that announcement to the whole region whenever we're doing surgery. So we'll reach all the villages with that. And then we're a ministry, and so afterwards we are doing a little celebration of sight, crusade, if you will, gospel crusades, and local soccer field, wherever that is, will pattern that same region 6 weeks later based on the schedule. So 6 weeks later, the same helicopter is going to pass over their head, but the message is, hey, we're doing a celebration, because everyone can see now.
Yeah.
So all the people are going to know, blind people that got their sight. So that reference is there. It's like, oh, there they are again. And then this time it's going to be, okay, let's go celebrate. And that's where we'll do a gospel.
Man,
Have you guys have you done a trial run with this already with the helicopter?
No, it's all theory.
Okay.
At this point, I'm a pilot, and I am about 70% through the training. It will be I believe the only, because the other group, they sold their plane.
Yes.
And so I think we're the only private aviation program once that lost in the country.
How'd you get inspired to do this? Like, just
I had a dream that I was flying a single person helicopter into a rural part of Africa.
oh wow.
A literal dream.
quite literal.
Yeah.
And so I never thought about aviation, never aspired to aviation, had that dream. And 2 months before that, I was at a church that nobody knew who I was. And I went up to, they have this prayer line, like, hey, get prayer after church type thing. And I was like, I'm going to go. Went to get prayer, and this girl starts praying, and she's just like, I just have this impression that God's really going to use you in Africa. Wow. And I see that you have this, and she had all this symbolism and stuff that spoke to me specifically, personally. And she said that I feel like God's providing a bridge for you to get into a deeper part of Africa that you've not been able to reach.
Wow.
She pretty much named my job description.
Wow. Yeah.
And she's a little timid because she thinks she's hearing God, but not sure. And so afterwards, I was like, did you know I work in Africa? And she, saw it all over her face. She was just so pumped that she was like, oh my gosh, I just heard him. And I heard later about her testimony. She was struggling with, wanting to hear God's voice. And
Wow.
so that was spoken. And I was like, okay, like she nailed my job description. That's like the thing I've been dealing with for 13 years is getting to rural Africa. And then 2 months later, it's like, okay, well, whatever that is, like, I'll wait for the Lord to show me. And then one night I had a dream. And in that dream, I was flying a single person helicopter over the trees, reaching a deeper part of Africa. That was the literal dream. Woke up, didn't just jump on it, thought, like that's interesting. And I just started brainstorming, what could I do with that? And I thought audio speaker, like that would just be fascinating to have that. And then later on, fast forward, I had so many confirmations. It's more than I personally need. I think it's to give my wife peace, give my mom peace, like peace of me being in the air. But I've went to a mentor and said, hey, this is what I feel like. And he was a pilot in Latin America as a missionary. And he called, I went and reached out to him, and then he called me, and the next morning he's like, hey, Lewis, can you come over to my house? And I was like, oh, he's going to try to talk me out of it, because he was older, and old people tend to do that. They use all their history and wisdom. So he was trying to do just that. He confessed that he spent the whole evening pacing his office trying to find a way to talk me out of it. And he said, it will do all that you say it will do. It will accomplish your mission. But I was nonetheless trying to find a way to talk you out of it. So he had this deck of cards. He gave me the deck, but this deck of cards that are double-sided with Christian quotes and verses and things like that. 200 cards, double-sided. And he flopped in his desk, and he grabbed a card and said, Lord, just give me a word for this boy. He grabbed the card, and the card said, what you can't go through, God will help you fly over.
Oh, my goodness.
So he handed it to me. And then so many things. One of the coolest was Mesa and I were talking like, okay, does anybody have an aviation program? Where would we keep this thing? And she said, oh, I think this group has a hangar, like an airplane hangar. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe we'll do that. And we called the group, it's this Baptist hospital, and said, hey, is there we'd like to come visit. I didn't tell my wife. I didn't tell anybody. I just told Mesa because I wasn't thinking it was all that spiritual. We're just going to add this to our agenda.
Yeah.
So we're 2 weeks away from me coming to Togo, 2 weeks away from that meeting. And I sat in front of a guy at church, again, has no clue, because I wasn't even telling people about this at all, and other than my direct family, or maybe even not them at this time, other than my wife. And I was at church again, and this guy who's not typical for this, and I think it's a cool thing to have in his belt of just kind of his confidence and, the Lord and using him and everything. But he had this, he came to me after church. He's like, Lewis, I'm so glad you sat in front of me. I just had a dream about you last night. And it was like super vivid. And I'm so glad you sat in front of me because I may have forgotten to tell you. And I said, awesome. What was the dream? He said, you were in Africa, like in Togo. And he said, but for whatever reason, I knew where you were geographically, like on the map. And I was like, huh. So I showed him a map of Togo. And I was like, okay, where was I? He pointed right where I had a meeting in 2 weeks. I said, okay, what else was in your dream? He said, because I'm interested. He said, you were at an airstrip. 2 weeks later, I have the photo on my phone. I was at an airstrip that exact location.
That's crazy.
So
Let's go.
I've had a lot of those. And like even I can go on and on.
So you really hear,
honestly.
you really hear God through dreams.
The first time I heard God, I will share the testimony this morning, was when I was not living for the Lord whatsoever. I was 17 years old, and this was a catalyst for me. I was past my neighbor's house, and I had no grid for God speaking, wasn't living for him. I passed by this house, and everything in me said, go to that house, knock on the door, and say, are you okay?
Right.
Again, I don't have a grid for God's voice. So I think, like, why am I thinking this? I must be going crazy. Why has this thought hit me? I leave the neighborhood. I do a U-turn. I go into her driveway, and then I tell myself, I'm nuts. What am I doing here? I'm late to school. I'm going to go to school. I left to school, and then that after school, I was going crazy. If I didn't do this, I thought I was just going to go nuts. I rushed back to that house to knock on the door and ask, are you okay? And whenever I got home or got to that person's house, there was an ambulance in the driveway, and she tried to commit suicide.
Right.
So I knew that was God. I don't have really a grid for this, but that's God. And so I was actually on Mercy Ships a year in on my time at Mercy Ships before I became a Christian. And so I went to the ship believing there's a God, but I totally wasn't living for him. And so I went to the ship culturally, I was a Christian, but there's just nothing there. Yeah. But on the ship, the cool thing was I saw what wholeness looked like. Like I saw all these Christians that really, really lived this. And I was just like, there's a wholeness in them that I wanted. And it took me about a year to leave the debauchery and and all that way of living. And then I bowed my knee to him. And it was that time, the only grid I had was hearing his voice. Well, a funny thing was I felt like such a hypocrite that it felt weird just to announce to everybody that I was a Christian. And because then all these mentors would try to surround me, and I just wanted to read the Bible. And at the time, I didn't even know where Jesus was in the Bible. I had to Google, where's Jesus in the Bible? And that's where I found the Gospels.
Oh, wow.
And for that whole first year, the only thing I knew was God spoke until I learned what I learned in the Bible. And so I think if I went to Christians, they would have tried to reel that in. And so by the time I came to America and actually realized that that's not actually considered normal, then at that point I was like, well, too late for me. I've just seen it too much and the fruit of it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
How do you hear from God? How does God speak to you?
How does God speak to me? For Lewis, is so not a dream. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're helping her grow in that.
Yeah.
We were talking about that today.
Yeah.
I was telling her that today. It's just like you need to have an expectation.
Yeah.
Like if he speaks, it should not be of a surprise. Just like he loves us that much that he wants to be involved with us intimately.
Right.
And that's through a connection. And how do you connect if there's no speaking? Of course, there's the Bible, but the Bible didn't tell me this. Stop, and there's this lady trying to commit suicide. And but I think that we're working on that because I think it's not a super Christian thing.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. That's the biggest thing I would like to put out there. Yeah. Is what's sad is so many people shrink back and say, "What? Why is this not my experience?" And by the same time, is there an expectation? Because whenever I was born again, I knew nothing about God. Even though I went to Bible classes, it's amazing what type of teaching you can be in front of and nothing land because your heart's just not there.
Yeah.
So I was very empty, even though parents did best they could, sent me to the right schools and all that stuff. There's just nothing there. But whenever I came to the Lord, I didn't have a grid that, hey, the first off, I had already heard him, but he's an infinite God, infinite possibilities. The idea that he isn't going to speak again whenever I was living as I was to now I'm living for him. Of course, that was like, that I'm expecting this.
I love that.
And there's that expectation.
Yeah.
And the thing is also, are you going to get it wrong? I have done wild things, not as a boastful thing, but just as a testimony. I've done wild things, whether it's financial related, putting my life on the line, whatever. I've never seen him not come through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To where it's like, it's as if like, even if I'm wrong, it's like he'll throw the bullseye over there just because he's excited that I'm trying to be faithful and whatever that is.
Well, it's faith. It's faith. And that,
Yeah.
and it's like, I was just actually listening to a talk, and it's like, you should, whenever you're praying, pray with the expectation that you're gonna hear an answer.
Sure.
Might not be what you wanted,
Yeah.
but you will hear an answer. And I mean, and like if somebody's sick, pray for them to get healed.
Yeah.
You know, God gives us authority and power. It's like, hey, you could, if you have faith as a mustard seed,
Sure.
it will be done, you know? And don't be scared if it doesn't happen and it's not, that wasn't my will then. It was God's will, but that's it, you know? But some people have the expectations like, oh, I better not, because if it doesn't happen, then that's just not going to look good,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
And also, like, I like to think that God speaks to us way more than we realize.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's a huge diversity of gifts.
yes.
And that, like Mesa's gift, our team has such joy and peace is nuts. And I'm not around them nearly as much as she is. And I tell her all the time, I was like, Mesa, you have no idea how much favor you have. Like, she'll go into a room, I'll go into the room, nobody really cares. You know, they're not super excited to see me. She'll walk into the room and everybody wants to be her best friend.
Yeah.
Like,
She just
It's just like-
carries that light.
it's like, oh yeah, I always say it's like, well, they like her more than me. That's a given. And she doesn't even realize it. She just thinks it's normal. I go into the airport in America. If I see a friend, they're like, oh, hey, Lewis, like, I know you. Good to see you. I go to the airport with Mesa. She sees 5 friends, and they're just thrilled to see her. Like, Mesa.
Yeah.
And so she carries that. That's her gifting.
Yeah,
and then it spills over to our team because
That's amazing.
They carry the same.
Yeah.
The same.
Cup
yeah.
overflowing.
Yeah,
Cup
that's really neat.
overflowing. What a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a gift. Yeah. Yeah, I've been listening to the Bible every morning when I'm in the sauna, you know, so I got like 25 minutes of just the Bible. And my son comes in and he listens with me and we're just sitting there just sweating, you know, just like listening to the word. And, you know, he's always been, and this is just in terms of like hearing God's voice, because, you know, I grew up not really knowing God's voice until I heard God's voice. And that was really where the veil was thinner when I was in Africa. I was leading some teams in South Africa and I'm like, oh, there he is. Wow. Okay. Yeah. You know, telling people that have been crippled for the last 20 years, like get up and walk, and seeing them stand up, you know, just like this radical faith, but also just like with expectations. It was like, well, the disciples did it.
That's so cool.
And they just told them to get up and walk. It wasn't this big fancy prayer. There wasn't all this stuff. It was like, get up. And I was telling this to my son. I was just like, if you want to hear God's voice, just ask him. Just ask him to speak. He wants to, but expect it. Expect that it's going to happen. And people don't expect it anymore. And I don't know why, especially church leaders don't talk more about that, because it's like, it's right there. He's right there and he is always speaking to us. We're so distracted, especially in the West with our devices and our phones and just noise that we're just missing it.
Well, I will say there is a sense of preparing, you know, you're opening your heart to the Holy Spirit and doing things like preparing yourself for success in a sense, you know what I mean? And that is, you know, like you're saying, go and open the word. And more and more as we put ourselves in situations where we could pray for people, where we could show the gospel, God comes closer. He gets excited. He wants to talk to us. I mean, obviously, if you're not doing that too, he's God. He'd do anything. But opening yourself up to these wonderful moments, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Have you guys seen some radical, I mean, of course, just people receiving our side is amazing. But what kind of like shifts spiritually have you seen? I'm sure just in some of these families and communities. I mean, have people come to Christ through this? What has been the ministry side of all that bit look like for your organization?
Yeah, there's, you want to speak into that? Or I can.
You can.
Yeah.
I can just give an example of Malatuba. Yes, we have a team member. She's not she's part of our team member now. She came, she was sick she came to, during surgery. She was a Muslim. Yeah. And she came, we helped her. And
She couldn't walk.
She couldn't even walk. Yeah,
She couldn't walk for 7 years, I
yeah,
think.
they even put her in the...
How did she move around? Did
With the
people
walker?
help her
Yeah.
or with a walker?
There's something, I don't know how do you
Wheelchair?
call it. It's not wheelchair, but they hold her to bring. She couldn't walk to come to us.
Okay.
But today, she became a Christian. I don't want to go to the details, but she became a Christian and she's working with our team now.
Praise God.
She's a cook and she's
Praise
with
God.
us.
And evangelist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's an evangelist too.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's part of the ministry team.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
so-
So you guys have a ministry team too along.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. This is so exciting. I love what you guys are doing. I love that it just fearless, just going all in with this.
I don't know,
It's-
fear less. There's some.
I
but-
mean, I think there's a healthy amount of fear, but fearless to the extent of you're not
But you're doing it.
You're building it,
Yeah,
a
sure.
helicopter.
yeah.
Yeah,
He's building a helicopter.
that's right. That's wild.
There were moments where, like, I mean, I would not be flying if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
Like, it was very scary in the beginning, but
I was scared just trying out your simulator when
yeah,
you
we
let
have
me
a
try it.
simulator. You can
Yeah,
come by and
I would
can,
love to.
I can show you what it's extremely accurate.
Oh, okay.
So I went on one lesson, most scary thing I ever did in my life, terrifying. Then I actually learned on simulator, and so I spent 35 hours on simulator, and then I went out to my first official lesson, and the instructor said I flew as if I had 25 hours.
Wow.
And so it's almost like for every 3 hours, it's like 2 hour practical, almost.
That's
Good
incredible.
investment. I think we should consider it.
Yeah.
Getting a helicopter simulator in here.
I mean,
in the
yeah,
studios.
I agree. Do you know where there's a helicopter that we could steal when the
No,
apocalypse happens?
It's just, yeah. You won't get very far. That's the problem. I don't know if
Yeah.
the helicopter's the way to go.
Definitely not. So if there's anything that you could just leave our listeners with, that you want them to know how to get involved, what kind of support do you guys need? What kind of prayer do you guys need?
Well, a cool thing, obviously the prayer, lots of cool stuff. There was the day and time when I kind of went to Africa and didn't have the church pray for me. And it was one day I was like, I probably should actually ask the church to pray for me before I go. And it was crazy, the shift that happened. Like, it was from like having a nail gun shot at my head. I mean, not literally, but just like such turmoil and challenges that I faced over there. And then as soon as I got prayer people behind me, it was just like the path was just laid. And so prayer is massive. And so it's not just a pun that we're supposed to say.
Right.
But on the support side, the cool thing is Mercy Ships is a big partner of ours. I served on the ship, obviously, but then again, about that word thing, I was actually told years ago that by a girl, didn't know me, said, I just have this impression that God's telling me to tell you that he's going to provide for you financially so you can be free to serve him. 1 week later, no effort on my own part, Mercy Ship sponsored 1,000 surgeries.
Wow.
Side note, just about that craziness of God, just so I got the point, this is a little bit personal. We're on a podcast. Never said it here. I won't tell you how. I got home that day and found out that we just were able to pay for our house the same day. So the same day, no effort on my part, my home gets paid for, and Mercy Ships sponsored 1,000 surgeries.
Let's go.
Well, today on how people can get involved. Well, the neat thing is Mercy Ships still supports us, and they're doing a matching thing. And so it's $150 to give sight to a blind person, and there's finances in there to share the gospel with them. Well, Mercy Ships is matching that. So for $150, you give 2 surgeries.
Wow.
Incredible.
That's
pretty
incredible.
It's a pretty tight margin. 100% of that dollar goes to Africa. I have what we call a 100% model, so that all the U.S. costs, my salary and everything, all that's sponsored. And so I don't take anything from that 150. That goes straight to Togo.
Wow.
Amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and our website's site.org, and we made it easy to find.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well,
That's incredible, guys. Thank you so much for just sharing these stories. I'm encouraged. And I'm excited to go and just ask God to share more visions and dreams with me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, it's
Don't
such a
limit
great great reminder.
Yeah.
And Mesa, it's such a pleasure to have you
Thank you.
here. And thank you guys.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Cheers.
All right. Cheers. Bye.
Sweet.